Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating police cadets are entering the room.
Minister of Education, colleague, Ms. Silveria Jacobs, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Carl John, members of the board of the St. Martin Justice Academy, coaches, supporters, and our stars of the evening, the graduates of the 2015 graduating class of the Justice Academy. Thinking back and listening to the others, the only thought that went through my mind is, you're making history. You will not be able to appreciate that now. But given the amount of time I spent looking back in trying to get safety, police protection for the police corps of St. Martin, long before 10-10-10 and after, I did not envision that today I'd be standing here extending my congratulations to graduates of the St. Martin Justice Academy, of which a great many will be reinforcing the police corps of St. Martin. I'll take you back some years ago. Some years ago, believe it or not, you probably were too young to remember, the police corps of St. Martin had one car. The police corps of St. Martin had, we used to call them, they were understaffed, under-equipped, and underpaid, and still was expected to deliver 100% of the safety and protection that St. Martin and its economy needed. At that time, we formed part of the Netherlands Antilles. And the government of St. Martin, actually from a formal point of view, had no authority as far as the police force is concerned, not even authority if they were in that position to finance growth of the police corps of St. Martin. That fell under the Minister of Justice of the Netherlands Antilles, and at times we got the feeling that their care and attention for safety on St. Martin, to put it mildly, was less than optimal. There were people who knew that if they called for a police assistance, that they knew no one would show up. They knew that it was senseless because you received no reaction, because, as I said, the police corps was undermanned, under-equipped, and they had one car. 10-10-10 came, as the commissioner mentioned earlier, and we had to start to build from scratch. Build without money. And that reminds me of the old days, the way homes used to be built. Decision is made, we need to build a home, but we got no money. But what we had was friends. And what we had was commitment. And what we had was perseveration. And we got friends together, and we start. Without having the money to finish, without all the materials, but we started. And that's what we did, or that's what occurred 10-10-10 with the police force. And from then to now, although still the police force is not optimal and way far from being optimal, with more demands being placed on the police force, we started. And this is the result that here in St. Martin, we're now producing cadets who really is the first step, that first stone to build a house we want. And you're making part of that first stone and making history. Because with the same perseverance that we had and the same friends we had in the old days in building our home, the police force will also be built to adequate levels to provide police protection, to provide security for the people of St. Martin, as well as the economy of St. Martin. These are tough times. When I said tough times that we're going through. And sometimes it looks hopeless. Sometimes it looks that no matter what we do, we will not attain our goal. Believe me, it's 30 years that St. Martin is fighting for adequate, decent police protection, going back to the time of Netherlands Antilles and going back to 10-10-10 to now. One of these days, you here will be sitting there in the same seat that Commissioner Carl John is sitting in. At least that opportunity is there for you, depending on your perseverance, your commitment, your will and desire to succeed, to continue to pursue the goal of making this police corps the best it can be. And that day, probably long after I'm gone, will come. It might come sooner, depending on your commitment. It might become later, depending on others who follow in your footsteps as to what you're doing today. But come, it will. Because in the past, all you need to do is believe. Believe and persevere. As you lined up outside earlier for inspection, the people who drew my attention, and I got to say more than you did, are the people who prepared you to be here tonight. Those are the heroes, because they have taken their time, taken their experience, taken their training, and with all the will in the world is trying to pass that on to you. And one day, you'll be in their place, doing it the same to the younger ones in St. Martin. That's the way we will succeed. There's one other item I want to touch on. And it's all embodied in the word integrity. No matter what happens, no matter what negative forces you might encounter, if you embrace integrity, then nothing will be able to stop you. And the question is, what is integrity? Integrity you should accept as what is the right thing to do when no one is around and no one is looking. And there's a little voice in the back of your head which will give you the answer to the right steps you should take in carrying out your duties as cadets, and I expect later on as full-fledged members of the police force, and when you take Mr. Carl John's seat. Cadets will migrate and have chosen to start a career to reinforce and build up the police force. But in the graduating group, there are also civil servants of various other departments in government who have also embarked on this training course. And to them also, of course, I extend my sincere congratulations, not only to them, but also to their families and friends, teachers, and the board of the academy. They would be continuing their career in officially having a certificate as a buff bull. And somebody translated that for me as an extraordinary police officer, although they're not in the police force. But we have legislation throughout in the country that needs to be reinforced. And it's not the sole or only goal or task of the police force to pursue the enforcement of those legislation. But now these people, when they go back to the respective departments, whether it is in the MOT, whether it is in the tourist department, whether it is in any other department, they would officially have a certificate to formally determine and register whether or not laws are being followed as they should be. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to join me in wishing the cadets, all of them, as well as the others who participate in the course, congratulations. And it must not stop there. You have just only put your toe in the water. You still got to continue until you can swim and dive, and that's a slow process, and a process you should not shun. You should not shun it, but stick with it. You are the early part of your life. Look over the rest of your life and invest 4 or 5 years in trying to make the rest of your life more comfortable. I thank you very much.
The following message is an important notice for all foundations, associations, and trusts. In connection with the change in the profit tax legislation, Article 1 of the Profit Tax Ordinance as amended in AB 2014-7, all associations, trusts, and foundations, other than those exclusively serving a general public interest, are taxable with profit tax as of January 1st, 2015, even when the entity is not conducting a business. As a result, the above-mentioned entities must file their profit tax returns as of fiscal year 2015. The provisional profit tax return must be submitted before April 1st, 2016, and a final profit tax return must be submitted before July 1st, 2016. A copy of the financial statements for the relevant year must be submitted with the final tax return. The tax forms will be available online as of February 1st, 2016 via the following website: onlineservices.stmartingov.org. That once again is onlineservices.stmartingov.org. Failure to file the tax returns can result in a fine of up to 2,500 guilders. The Tax Administration urges all foundations, associations, and trusts that have not yet registered at the Tax Administration to do so as soon as possible in order to avoid fines. For more information, you can contact the Tax Administration Inspectorate Department at 542-2143, 542-5301, 542-5304, 542-3839, or email taxinfo@stmartingov.org. This public service announcement was brought to you by the Tax Administration, St. Martin.
And our first graduate, Ms. Francelise Mauricia. Give her a round of applause. Mr. Lucien Wilson. Miss Ligia Stella. Mr. Thomas Riemersma. Miss Laziza Thielen. Miss Piola Boosman. Miss Natalie Peters. Miss Minerva Jones. My most challenging student. Oh, yes. No, it was fun. It was. Miss Suleika Davelaar. Mr. Rafael Brooks. Miss Renarda Catalina. Mrs. Catalina was a graduate of Mixed Group 3, and she participated in the graduation of the former group, but there was a glitch on her certificate, and we decided tonight to honor her because she was one of the most outstanding students of her group. So we give her a big round of applause. We will proceed now with handing out of certificates of appreciation to our, if we want to call them executive staff, all of our external instructors who have put up and put in the time to make sure that our cadets and our students of the mixed groups got the necessary education in order to be here tonight. So without further ado, I would like to call on our external instructors, Mr. Rutzel Kemper, Mr. Michael Cornett. Everybody knows Dr. Cornett. Dr. Judith Arundel. Dr. Judith Arundel. Thank you, sir. Miss Jennifer Richardson. Miss Renata Sluisdom. And a lady takes a bow. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for everything you've done. Mr. Alain Richardson. This fine gentleman I'm going to ask to step forward. He is not an instructor. but he is one of the key persons in having our daily operations function at the Justice Academy. Mr. Rick Martina. Come on, you could give him a bigger round of applause than that. Mr. Rick Martina, he sees to it that every day we have sufficient water for use. We have the utensils and the utilities taken care of, and he never says no. Ever says no. So we are very grateful to you, Mr. Martina. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to mention the names of some of our other external staff members, and if they are present, they can make their way forward because I don't really see anyone here, but Mr. Jan Snijders, Miss Judith Echtelt, Mr. Hensley Plantain, Mr. Etienne Livingstone, Mr. Edward Eddie Jacobs, Mr. Orlando Aids, Miss Melissa Aids. From the Red Cross, Miss Joanna Reinbout, Miss Fancy Moreno, Miss Eunice Yubitana, and last but not least, and I'm asking Mrs. Catalina to come and receive his certificate, Mr. Charlon Catalina, very instrumental teacher. Please convey our congratulations and appreciation to Mr. Catalina for all the work he's done for us. Thank you very much. Yes. So they say we save the best for last. So when I call on the police cadets, I would appreciate that you show the room what you've learned in protocol. You stand at attention and proceed to the stage to collect your certificates. Mr. Stefan Ellis. Mr. Clint Smains. Mr. Sheldon Catalina. Mr. Quincy Turner. Mr. Pedro Canegiter. Mr. O'Neill Plantain. Better known as Sa Sa Sa. Mr. Anselmo Bosman. Selmo. Mr. Taro Marlin. No excuses, absolutely no excuses. Mr. O.M.R. Richardson. Sorry? Your name? Our names? Oh, okay. Mr. Nudimar Desvarida. Mr. Anwar Villarreal. Wait. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. This is not my honor. and neither is it my privilege. I think privilege is due.
This is Mr. Anwar. You got it?
Miss Marsha Bremer. Miss Tatiana Heyman. Miss Rosiana Prosper. Miss Gabrielle Richardson. Keep us on our toes. Miss Vanessa Martina. Miss Hadassah Arindel. Valedictorian. And that's all for tonight. Miss Rachel Martina Rachel Martina was one of our cadets who inspired us most to continue what we're doing. When we would say we're tired as instructors and we go to the gym, even if it's 11 o'clock at night, you would find Rachel Martina studying. Day in, day out, she's in the books, and she was the motivator for many of her classmates to continue to pursue their dream. So I want to really congratulate you and thank you, Mevrouw Martina, for being an inspiration to us all. Congrats.